So the mission covers Scotland, Northern Ireland, and then the Republic of Ireland. So it's kind of like 3 countries in a way. So that's kind of the geographical thing. The weather is mostly cloudy and rainy. Never gets terribly warm. I think the warmest it ever got, or that I remember it getting, was probably around 75 to 80 degrees. So relatively cooler climate. We always had the joke that in June you got your 2 weeks of summer, and then it would go back to rainy and cloudy. So, so that was kind of the weather, but like it wasn't bad. You got used to it after a while. You never left without a rain jacket, because even if the sun was shining, it was probably going to rain on you at some point. The food, like fish and chips, were pretty big, and it was cheap too. It was really good. You got a lot of it, so that was fantastic. We eat a lot of potatoes. Those are really common food to have with most meals. But they don't, I don't know, there's nothing really like strange or like crazy that they eat. Everything's, normal, I would say. In Scotland you do get haggis for like Robbie Burns night, which is interesting. It's not bad. Like I'd eat it again. Potatoes, like meat pie, like shepherd's pie is a pretty popular one as well. But I had a variety, like pizza, spaghetti at one member's house, stuff like that. So it was really good. In Dublin you got quite a few people from like other countries, like going to university and stuff. So in Dublin you get kind of a variety of different cultural foods. Like we had a Filipino family we would see, so they would cook us like Filipino food, which is excellent, by the way. So stuff like that. As far as other things go, a lot of the buildings are really old, which is cool. Gives you a lot of things to do on like preparation day. There's lots of old castles and stuff you can go see that'll usually be pretty close to your area and whatnot. Public transportation is really big over there too, so that's what we would use to get around, or just walk. I guess in Scotland you've got William Wallace, or Braveheart, is a big hero over there. So there's some monuments to him and stuff, it's fun to go see those. Over in Ireland you've got a lot of interesting things. Like there's a leprechaun museum in Dublin, I remember that. There's a lot of like legends and stuff associated with a lot of like their lochs. Like you've got like the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland and stuff like that. So there's quite a few fun like cultural like stories and stuff you hear.
Right now in Scotland there are 5 stakes, which is a lot better than it used to be. I mean, I think it was about 50, 60 years ago, I think there was only 1 stake. And the mission president, so I'm going to back up a little bit. So there's a tradition in the mission, the Scotland Ireland mission. When you get there, all the new missionaries, they climb, we call it Pratt's Hill in Edinburgh. Its real name is Arthur's Seat. It's the highest hill in Edinburgh, that's right, and you can see everything around. And so you go up there because the story is that Orson Pratt was the first missionary to Scotland. He went up there after he'd been working really hard in Scotland. He hadn't found any converts really. I mean, a few. His companion was a native, but he wasn't having the success that he was hoping for. And so he went to what we now call Pratt's Hill, Arthur's Seat. And he said a prayer, when he was talking to the Lord. And he basically told the Lord, I want to baptize 200 people, is what he said. And he counseled with the Lord, and that's what felt right. And so he went to work, and by the time he left Scotland, he had 200 converts, and they'd established the church there, and he left. And so what we do now is when we get there as new missionaries, we go up and we set a goal with the Lord what we want to do on our mission. And so it was I think it was President Cuthbert, if I remember right, when there was 1 stake. He went up there, it was like 1950s, I think, or 60s. And they had 1 stake, so he went up there with all the missionaries, a few of his missionaries, not all of them, like his assistants and a couple others, I think. And they went up and prayed to know what to do. And they set a goal of how many priesthood holders they wanted to have, because that's why they only had 1 stake. There wasn't enough priesthood holders. And so they set that goal, and they went to work. And a few years later, I think it was like 3 years later, there was a telegraph from, I think it was Elder Haight from Salt Lake, that said they were coming to establish the 5 stakes in Scotland, because they'd met their goal. They'd gotten all the priesthood holders that they needed. And so the church is growing steadily in Scotland, I think. And Those 5 steaks are pretty good still. So when I was there, I think there was about 180 missionaries. I think there's more now, since the age change and the influx of missionaries. There's only English and Chinese. When I was there, it was only ever a max of 5 Chinese missionaries. I've heard now it's up to about 8 to 10. So they have more areas than they did when I was there. As far as temples, there's 2 temples in England. Those are the nearest ones. The one in Preston is about, I think it's like a 3-hour drive, 4-hour drive. So as a missionary, I never went. That's where the MTC is as well. So when members go, they usually get a bus together and they take big temple trips down. They just stay for like a whole week, but missionaries usually don't go, as far as I know.
Missionaries have been there for a long time, almost since the beginning of the Restoration. They really have. There has been an apostle who was born in Dublin. Elder Cowley, I think is his name, or Callis. Anyway, there aren't many members in Ireland. The church is small there. There are mostly branches and then small wards. There are 2 stakes in a district, and the average attendance, it depends city to city, but it's going to be somewhere like 60, for example. Stephen R. Covey, the famous author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, was the first mission president of Ireland when it was its own mission, Ireland. And people still, some of the older members still talk about those days and the great work that he did there. Of course, I'm sure they will talk as well about President Stephen R. Chapman, who is my mission president, and the great work he did there. Certainly, I will talk about it. And maybe that's something for the missionaries to know. Oh my, your mission president will change your life. Let him. Elder Cook, when he was first called as a general authority, he said the following in General Conference as his first address. He said, "The influence of a righteous mission president is one of the great miracles of the Restoration." And that is absolutely true. Other things about the church in Ireland, they, like I mentioned, is a very diverse country. Well, the wards are very diverse there as well. In the Galway branch, for example, 1/3 were Brazilian, 1/3 were Caucasian, not even Irish, but just some form of Caucasian, Eastern or Western European, Irish, and then 1/3 were African. And so 1/3 of the branch didn't even speak the same language. They spoke Portuguese. And so some of the members had to know both English and Portuguese and would translate. So very diverse wards.